research projects, basically.
I see. Cool. So what kind of marketing, like, are you into? Like, what do you think you're gonna
That's
research?
actually a good question. I'm exploring like marketing research as far as like collecting samples, the data part of marketing, and then I also am interested in kind of like product management or brand management as well.
Interesting. When you say product management, do you mean like designing products, like being
kind of? It's part of that team. It's not necessarily that. It's like kind of, the word just escaped me. I can't think of how to explain it. It's part of designing products. It's getting feedback on what people want and stuff like that.
Okay, interesting. Hey, Rick. Oh, we can't hear you.
Test.
Hey.
How about now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. So Jill may still be at OpenROV. I'm not sure. I left the office because there was some event going on. A bunch of German people. And Jose, he's in the office. He was building the alphabet for Vondrek. I think needs a minute or two, and he's gonna join. But all right, how about, I guess let's just get started. It's just us three for now. Let's see. I'm just thinking about high-level updates. I think Joel went over most of them last time, and there's not much that's different. All right, so let's see, what have I been doing? So I talked with Rick, and so what I've started looking at, I put the new page aside for now, and I've started looking at separating the chat server, or the chat, into its own application or its own server. And also, later, I guess after moving the chat, we can move the page loads, which I call the API server, because really to load the page, all you're doing is hitting some APIs to get data. So we can move that behind, a load balancer and have multiple servers handling that. So Rick, I want to know what you think about this. So you said earlier that you don't think the page loads are bottlenecked by CPU on the app server. Do you think they might be bottlenecked by the CPU on the database server? Because, okay, so I want to know what you saw. You said that you saw a bunch of activity, or you said you saw not much activity, but that the page loads were still lagging, right?
Yeah, not much control activity, but page loads still lagging.
By the way, you're very quiet.
All right, how about now? Is that loud?
I think
Is this loud?
Oh, that's better. Yeah,
Okay.
that's better.
That's good.
Oh, here we go. So here's the data points that I have. I have seen where Icedesign just mentioned the site and then the page load slowed down. I mean, nobody was driving the robot, really. Page loads just came to a grinding halt almost because of so many people clicking page loads, probably. I've also seen where this different occasion, site was apparently under load and struggling in general. And I checked the database and it was only at 25% usage. So I don't, this is not conclusive. I think there are probably multiple points of failure and different ones show up under different use cases.
Yeah, Jose.
You guys.
Okay, so you don't think it's the database?
I'm not saying. I mean, sometimes it might be that. Right. I'm not ruling it out. I'm just saying. No. I mean, I would try to perhaps not. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, I've just got some data points, but I don't have the whole story. I think we're going to have to figure that out.
Yeah. I think it's the database because so if everything else is inactive, let's say, and you saw a bunch of okay, and the page loads were crapping out. The page loads, they hardly use any CPU. I mean, in fact, they almost use like no CPU. Like there's nothing like that needs to be calculated in memory or anything. It's just strictly fetching from the database. So if there was no activity, command activity, but the page loads were still crapping out, it might be the database that's bottlenecked. That it might be a data point that suggests that the database is bottlenecked. So I started. I sort of like, well, I just briefly researched basically Mongo sharding. Do you think do you think it's too early for that, or do you think that'll provide us some gains?
Well, technically, sharding is finding out data. As I understand it, well, long story short, I think what you can use is replication instead of sharding. If you want to just essentially make copies of the database and then effectively that makes it faster to access.
Yeah, I thought that was the first way I went about it. I started Googling, master slave configurations, and I figured maybe all the page loads could just query the slave node, since there's no writing to be done. But then Googling the terms master slave for Mongo, it looks like they've moved away from that, and then anyway, that's not normal for Mongo. It looks like what's normal is sharding. I think sharding deals with like the replication. What's that?
I think sharding refers to dividing the database up into different pieces.
Yeah, dividing all the collections into different pieces, and each piece is like a certain subset of the data.
We need it to, when it accesses the database, I believe they're all accessing the same subset of data. So sharding, I don't think does anything in this case. Like all the pages are going to load the same subset of data on the front to make the main page show up. Kind of. Well, I guess it is randomly selected and they're showing different robots or something. But if they're all set to the same robot initially, wouldn't all the pages just access the same element of data?
Yeah, I've initially was thinking the exact same thing as you. It's just Googling sort of led me to sharding. It just seems like, I don't know, like it looks like replication and sharding, it's conflated a lot in like Mongo terminology. So anyway, that's what led me to, but I know what you're saying. I know what you mean and how that's different than sharding. You just mean having replication nodes and then just querying from those instead. All right, well, let's not bore everybody. So,
but I think that's more like just a setting that you change. I just think it's going to be probably pretty easy to fix the database. But
I gave it a whirl.
I'm more worried about just the ability to have multiple nodes running. I know that we have. Well, I guess there's this possibility we're tossing around that all of the CPU usage is from control, which, if a miracle happens and that's true, that's good. But
Yeah,
You still
I
can't
mean,
serve, like, if 1,000 people hit it at the same time, you can't serve 1,000 people from one process all at the same time.
yeah.
And that does apparently happen. So, whatever.
Okay. All right. Well, we can think about that more. So, anyways, I've been looking into separating the chat, and then eventually we can separate the API servers as well. Jose, do you want to mute your mic for a second?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know it was feedback.
Okay. Then I deployed a lot of Danish's changes. You guys might have seen the new robots modal purchase menu. A few other things. I don't exactly remember. And then oh yeah, and so Danish also finished implementing what's called JSON Web Tokens, which allows us to authorize and then receive a token when you're authorized, so that you can make all kinds of API calls from different kinds of clients. So I'm using that. It's a good thing that he implemented that, because I'm using that for the new chat server, because now that we can't share sessions because it's on a completely different machine, so I have to authenticate in a different way. So I'm going to let the socket just send the authentication token, and the server should know that it's me, it's Theodore, using that. And that's it for my update. All right, Kevin, you want to go next?
Yeah, I re-edited that makeup video, uploaded it to YouTube. I'm probably going to post it and Reddit here in a few days. I figure I'd give it a few days to just say it that way. It doesn't look like it's blatant advertising. And then I messed around with sumo logic and kind of got a little bit of the hang of it. I made one chart, which Theo posted on Slack.
Yeah, I mean, good job on that. Like, I mean, that it looks great, and I think that, like, so now, I mean, once you start to understand sumo logic better, I mean, I think you understand it probably already better than Rick or I, or at least I couldn't get that chart to parse. So now, like, whatever data any of us could think of, we could implement it so that it spits out that data, and then we could try to graph that too. We could just hand it to you, Kevin, and maybe you can just graph whatever data we have.
Do you need it? I know on sumo logic you can look it up so it's live, it's constantly pulling data. Are you guys planning on doing that, or is it just going to be
Yeah, we can do that too. Sumo logic handles streaming data, so it already is streaming to a file. I'm sure you can hook it up to just read that file.
Yeah, I wasn't sure that was one thing you guys considered, because I'm not a huge fan of the graphing options there. It seems kind of limited in certain ways. But I mean, that also has other things that are plus side, so give and take, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, the graphing is very useful for us, and also very relevant at this point in time, much more than merchandising, in my opinion.
No, I was just saying that you can't change the width of lines, so it was cluttered, and there's not a lot of things you can do about it.
The width of lines, yeah. Okay.
On the chart, it's all. It was just comments. It wasn't really anything worthwhile.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, thanks for learning sumo logic, and
yeah.
I can throw more of that same data your way, because it's always logging that every day. But we should all think about what other data we want to graph, so that we can start spitting that data out, and start recording that data. Yeah, I couldn't think of anything but robots versus time, like number of accounts, well, I guess we can do number of robots, which we have the data for already. Yeah. But number of accounts and stuff, that's easy. You don't even need sumo logic. You kind of just query the database manually if you want. I mean, I've already done that. What was it? Number of robots and stuff like that, you can already get the commands, what commands are happening. I think you can get from what Rick implemented with Google Analytics, and then like number of active users per time. You could also get that from Google Analytics. So I couldn't think of some kind of data that's not already that we don't already have through Google Analytics or a simple query in the data.
To actually chart the graph that Kevin had, like I'd actually I can hear myself. I'd actually like to see that, like all the robots like added up, because if I look at that chart, it's really hard for me to tell.
Yeah, that's what I was.
That's what I was getting at.
Okay.
That was the original intention, is to aggregate the number of robots per time. So you would see like there's 20 robots, 30 robots. Well, I mean that's what the intention was. Currently, it does not do that. Currently, what it shows, so the y-axis is kind of like, you can almost consider it like intensity, like how often or like how often they are streaming. Like if the y-axis is low, that means they still streamed, but it might have been very sparsely. Like they turn it on for an hour, and maybe the next day they turn it on for an hour again. So the y-axis kind of shows intensity. Like if you look at TrumpBot or Rick's robots, they're usually like on 24/7, so they have a high y-axis. And then and then the x-axis. Well, anyway, and then you also want the line to be continuous. That means that they stream over long periods of time.
What's the login to look at this chart, by the way? I'm trying to view it.
Yeah, it's go to sumologic.com, and then here, I'll select you the password. Hold on, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, anyway, thanks, Kevin. Looks good.
Thank you.
All right. Jose?
All right. Sorry about my mic. It's acting up a little bit. So I've been constructing Vondrax Alpha and doing the documentation and streaming it through my bot. I'm about to go back and finish it. So then I'll move on to editing the video and making it higher quality. So I did some quality assessment with Theo yesterday or the day before yesterday. And today I met some people that were presenting here. I think they said they met you too, Theo.
Yeah.
It was Steven.
Oh, he came back.
Pardon?
He came back. I met Steven. I got his card. I already emailed him, copied Jill, Steven, and Nathan.
Nice. Yeah, Nathan was the presenter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool guy. I like what he's doing. Then that's what I've done so far. So I'll be finishing up that after stand up and go back online. You guys can check it out.
When do you think Vondrax bot might be done by?
Most likely just tonight. It's I'm done with soldering the motors, and that's annoying. But I think I should be done tonight. Or at the latest, like tomorrow. But...
Cool. All right.
Hi, Frank.
Yeah, thanks for that. I mean, that really helps. That really gets something off of Jill's plate, because she was planning to do that otherwise. So that helps a lot.
Yeah, of course.
Is Jill, are you back? I think she stepped away for a second. Anyway. Oh, sorry, it was Rick's turn anyway.
Okay.
Hey, Rick, you want to go?
I created a couple diagrams and looked at the code a little more. The name, the sessions and the names, but I only looked at that for a short time. And also I sent Jill a body for a robot. I think that's it.
Cool.
Did you order the parts by chance?
No, I'm gonna do that tomorrow. I wanted to. Well, I don't have an account except the PayPal account to do that. And it takes the day to transfer money, so.
Oh, you can't just direct.
Amazon doesn't support PayPal, strangely enough.
Okay, I mean, why not just use company card? Do you not have one?
No, I don't.
All right, I need to get back on that then. Okay.
On the
you should. Well, I mean, you're all on the account. It's just the weird distinction between like who owns it and whatever. Anyway, we can talk about that later.
Okay.
All right, Jill.
Yeah. So on my end, I spent most of yesterday in Rockland with Parallax. I met with Ken, and we talked about how they could help us. So they're going to dedicate their electrical engineer to help us make kind of a teleboard. And like I actually talked with them like face to face, and we scheduled a time. So I decided to put sort of like a timeline for when stuff is going to happen on Ken, and I'm hoping that he'll pretty much sign off on that, and that should maybe encourage the partnership to go forward more smoothly. And they also helped us get up to speed with the new servos and helped us troubleshoot some of the problems we were having with the robots, which is great. I got the money to Renee so she can order parts for King Kong.
Sweet.
So that should be going. Trustin also emailed me and told me they're sending us their first kit prototype. So it should supposedly be there tomorrow if what they say is correct. So that should be pretty awesome.
Wow, yeah, that's awesome.
And then today, like, kind of the main thing was I went and spoke with Eric, the CEO of our Open ROV, and it turns out we have a lot of similar alignment on robots and streaming and internet control. So it was a very interesting and enlightening conversation. I learned a lot about their business, and I learned a lot about other businesses that might be potential competitors. So we can talk about that a little bit more later. I think that's it. So I saw the flowcharts that you guys made for architecture stuff. So that's super, like, amazing. I just wanted to say that, like, that's, like, exactly the kind of stuff that we need. So that was awesome. I wanted to ask, did you guys get a chance to look in the master plan doc, Rick and Theo?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so there's some questions there. I guess we can do it in our other meeting. Like, I just want to make sure that we're thinking about, like, all the aspects of the tech so we know, like, the general strategy for what we're doing. And that's about it.
Cool. All right, do you want to talk about that after this meeting?
Yeah, we can talk about that after this meeting.
Cool. All right. Well, let's get to it. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jose. Thanks, Kevin. I mean, I think we're all sort of aligned and, like, contributing like helpful stuff to the company. So thanks for you guys' work.
No problem.
All right, we're going to start our next meeting, and I'm going to stop streaming. So you guys have a good night.
Night.
Bye.
Okay.